Hello dear tea friends from around the world. Welcome to a new tea class with me, Stéphane Herler, the founder of the Tea Masters blog and the tea-masters.com tea boutique. Today is our second winter class, and this winter semester, we are dedicating our studies to high oxidation oolongs and fully oxidized red teas. We already saw an Alishan red tea in the first class, and today I want to continue with maybe the most famous tea in our category in this course, which is why we are not going to study it just once. There are four actually such teas in this class. We will start with the Imperial grade Oriental Beauty. Here it is. It's a tea with many names and with a fascinating history about these names. I will tell you all the secrets about it. And in the following weeks, we are also going to study three different Oriental Beauties made in summer, in fall and in winter. And we will see that each season adds a different flavor to the leaves and to the tea. So this is also going to be very interesting, and we will really go into why this tea is so important in Taiwan for this tea category, because it has influenced other oolongs and even other red teas. And my idea to start with the best grade is because really tea is about quality, and if you want to really understand the essence, the characteristic of a tea, the best way is to go to the best quality, because this is where the character of the tea is the best revealed. Lower grades, cheaper versions of the same tea do have their use and their beauty also, but it's when the farmers make the very best, the top grade of any kind of tea, that you really are best able to understand what this tea is all about. And that's why, to start the study of Oriental Beauty, I thought we start at the top. Usually you want with your friends to start low and finish high, but for our studies the best way is we start at the top to have the best understanding. Now, it all starts with the tea leaves to understand all the rest. What we see is that these leaves are quite interesting. They are rather small for oolong, and there are lots of different colors. We can see white, we can see brown, we can see very dark, almost black. Maybe sometimes there might be some red or even a bit of green. So this tea is also sometimes called cha, or a tea of 5 colors. But it's not the last name. It has another name, because sometimes you will see really lots of these white tips. And let's get one here. Here, very, very white tip. And there are some cultivars which produce lots of such white hips, and therefore sometimes this tea can also be called Bairao Oolong, which means white hair oolong. It's very very nice, but there's another name for this tea, is Pong Fong Cha in Chinese, which means the tea of the boaster, the person who boasts. I will tell you also why about this name, where it comes from. But of course, the name we all know, and which is the name of the study today, is Oriental Beauty. Dongfang Meizhen in Chinese, and this name supposedly has been given by Queen Victoria to this tea. Unfortunately, this is just a very nice story, but it does not fit the truth. The most likely explanation for when this tea was started is not in the 19th century, when Queen Victoria was still ruling, but a little bit later in the Japanese colonization era from 1895 until 1945. I wrote an article last year to explain that the tea industry in Taiwan really started in the mid-19th century with an influx of immigrants from Fujian, and replicating a lot of teas that were in Fujian, and then slowly starting to find their own way, their own taste, making their own teas, like a baozong, which was really one of the very first locally named tea. And then the Japanese came to Taiwan, took over, and they were a little bit less interested in oolong teas, but they were at that time imperial power that was more and more at odds with Western powers, especially when we come closer to the Second World War. And they were then, of course, the rival of the other imperial power, which was England. And England was had at that time almost a monopoly on the production of red tea, thanks to India and to its access to China through Hong Kong. And to counter this monopoly on tea, the Japanese also wanted to make red teas, and they chose Taiwan as a place to do so. So during the Japanese era in Taiwan, most of the production of tea was changed and switched from oolongs to red tea. That's when the sites on the east coast were developed. Actually, and then they were lost and almost reborn again, like 10-15 years ago. And the Sun Moon Lake tea factory, also dedicated to red tea, was also very strong. And a lot of other farmers who were making oolongs, actually, some continued, but they were also really pushed to make more red tea. So they wanted to be competitive against Lipton, Twinings, these big British companies, and so they developed much more red tea, and this is how we have now Oriental Beauty. And the idea that they would give that the name would be given by a British queen really fits well with the fact that at that time the Japanese were really obsessed with being in competition with the British, and having red tea or high oxidized oolongs in Taiwan compete with those teas from the British Empire, and so that to even try to confuse that the red teas from Taiwan somehow are even associated with the British Empire, by saying that this tea was named by the Queen Victoria. So there is no definitive proof about it, but from what I've gathered from my studies, this is really the most likely way that this tea was came about during the Japanese era. So it's not as old as it pretends to be, but it's already quite old, since this Japanese era lasted only 50 years, from 1895 until 1945. Now, what makes this tea even more interesting? It's and why is it really such a high quality tea? When we look here at this leaf, for instance, really it looks like a spring green tea bud, except that it is actually very dark and high oxidized. And the idea for making quality with oolong leaves in summer, because it's more a summer hot season tea, is that the farmers, they pick the leaves very young, when they are not fully mature, so that they are much more concentrated in flavors and in fine flavors, because remember, with green tea, the larger the leaves, the less refined the flavor, the more bitterness comes, and the less concentrated also these high flavors are. And something almost magical happens with these leaves in particular, is that in the summer season there's a specific insect which has a very long Latin name, which is very difficult to remember. We call it a tea jacid. It's on my blog, so you can check it out. And this tea jacid will bite especially the buds of these leaves in the summer, and the reaction of the tea plant is to fight against this bite, and it produces its own chemistry to fight back against this attack from these very small insects. And in this process, the tea leaf changes in flavor, and this is what gives a very specific honey kind of scent to this tea leaf. And the more of these insects, the more there are bites in these leaves, the more this honey scent will be present, and will really add something magical, almost like a perfume to this tea. So the quality of this tea is not just like usual about selecting the best leaves on the nicest day, in the nice on the good soil of that particular region, but it also depends on these leaves being attacked by tea jacids. So we also need the impact of nature in its insect form, not just in the climate and in the soil. So this really makes this tea very difficult to predict and to make in high quality. And I'm thirsty. I want to try it. Let's brew it. Because nothing can replace the words of a class with the actual taste of the tea. So I really hope that you have your little sample. This is one that is my little free gift in this sampler set of dedicated to this class. So these leaves are the most expensive, the most valuable. So you only receive a very small package, which actually is I did not include it in the cost, but yup, let's. So for the sake of the class, I've taken what how much I would usually take roughly, and I weighted it exceptionally, and it's 3.9. You can go a bit lower, but today is it's still Chinese New Year, so happy Chinese New Year, by the way, and the year of the rabbit. So I thought let's enjoy this tea even more. Okay. Now these leaves, contrary to High Mountain Oolong, they are not rolled, they are simply twisted, quite open, so they don't need so much time to open up. And since they are quite small also, not so thick, they don't need so much for the water to penetrate inside it. So we don't have to make a very long brew for the first one. We can enjoy it very, very light, and you will see it will be quite special. Here we go. Let you see the leaves have better expanded. The different colors now are not so easy to see anymore, and very beautiful transparency, beautiful color, shine, and of course the smell. For me it's much more like a perfume than a tea smell. Let me put this here, and we can try. Amazing, 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 amazing. Reminds me either of childhood candies or Fendi perfume for women. This is absolutely extraordinary that tea can produce such smells and a nice sweetness at the end. Perfect. So let's delve again into the name of this tea. We saw Usecha 5-color tea. We saw Baiha Oolong, white fur Oolong. We saw also Oriental Beauty. We explained it, but we have not explained Pong Fong Cha. So the idea is that the very first, it's more like a legend. So the very first farmer supposed to be who created this tea, he went against the flow. Everybody used to make oolong in the spring and maybe in winter when the conditions were best for doing oolong, with really light temperatures, producing very light flavors. And maybe this farmer wants to make a tea, but also in summer, and all his other farmer friends tell him, no, it's not worth to work in the summer. It's going to be too hot. you are going to be more tired, and the tea is not going to taste so good because it's too hot. The leaves don't have the same freshness as in spring or in winter. But our farmer, he says, no, I have a family, 5, maybe 6, 10 children to feed, and I think I'm better than all the rest, and I'll do it. I will show them that it's possible to also make good tea in summer. So he picks the leaves very early when they're not fully mature to get them at the best stage, and even if they are insect bitten, it doesn't matter. He still believes he can make a good tea despite all the elements that are working against him, the heat and the insects, and that it's too hot. So he makes his tea, goes to the merchant to sell it because he's not able to sell to the public by himself, and the merchant gives him, tries the tea, likes it, gives him a large sum of money for his tea. And what does he do when he goes back to the village? Well, proud. Hey guys, you said I cannot do it? Well, I've done it, and you better learn from me or you'll be sorry, because now I'm the king of the mountain, I'm the king of my village, I'm the master of tea. I've made a super tea in summer that tastes great, and that will feed my family. So he was boasting, and since then in this village in Hsinchu County, Beipu, Emei, this tea is also called Pong Fong Cha, the guy who blows wind, the tea who blows wind, because the very first producers probably of this tea were very proud of achieving such a high quality. So this is a name that is a bit lesser known. It's more local name, and this allows me to go back to the place where it was originated. It's in the Hsinchu County, Emei, Beipu. There's even a tea museum in this place. Lots of producers of Oriental Beauty, and there is one characteristic of the Oriental Beauty produced there is the cultivar, because in theory Oriental Beauty is just like Baozhong. You can make it with any cultivar that you want. It's more a process than a cultivar, unlike Mountain Oolong, which is almost only Qingxing, a bit of Jinchuan, but you would say it's a single cultivar. But Oriental Beauty, really the very best cultivar for making Oriental Beauty is the one that is used in Hsinchu County, and it is Da Pang Oolong. So this is also, and what we are tasting today, of course, is an Oriental Beauty based on Da Pang Oolong. I cannot get enough of it. So to well understand your Oriental Beauty, you have to know what is the cultivar that is used to make it. And so Da Pang Oolong would be really the best choice, and it is almost the only choice when you go to the original place in Hsinchu County where this tea is produced as the main tea. But this tea can also be produced in other regions of Taiwan, like in the Wenshan area, where they produce Baozhong in the spring and in the winter. Well, in the summer, when it's too hot, they will often produce Oriental Beauty instead. But then they are using whatever cultivars they have on hand. So it could be Jinshuan, it could be Qingxing, it could be anything. It could sometimes even be Dapang, Oolong, but that's not always the case. And that's why there can be lots of variations between different Oriental beauties in Taiwan, whether depending on which cultivar they are made from. But really the original one and the most suitable, the one that gives the best, the finest results is Dapang Oolong. So that's one thing to bear in mind when you choose your Oriental Beauty, and if you study it, what is the cultivar? We saw already in our previous classes in fall that really a cultivar will have a huge impact on the flavors, and this is also something that we could see with Oriental Beauty, but to understand it today we go directly to the best and to the correct cultivar, the original one, Dapang Oolong. Okay, so I hope that you can taste with me the finesse and the elegance, and especially also these wonderful scents that are much more like perfume than tea, but it's all natural. Huh? This is really the thing that we want to add. And what was at that time almost like a defect, that this tea would be bitten by insects, nowadays has transformed into something, a strength, something positive, because it gives us the assurance that the farmer did not use any pesticides on his field. Otherwise there would be no such insects to eat and bite the tea leaves. And in this regard, this tea will influence many other teas like concubine, oolong, or the red tea from the East Coast. So we will talk about this influence in the later classes when we will touch on these teas. But I also already wanted to mention it, that this tea, thanks to its accidental turn of events, that it was bitten by insects, this was almost a drawback at that time due to the hot climate in Taiwan, but then it turned into something positive and an advantage that other farmers in other regions try to replicate, and using the knowledge, also the experience of the Oriental Beauty farmers in this regard. Let's make a second brew, and I think we can then conclude our class. Voilà. Now, second brew doesn't have to be too long, since the leaves have only given their flavor once. But in the third and fourth brews, then I recommend to make your brew a bit longer. And once you realize that your tea brew becomes a bit weaker, you can add more strength, pouring with a faster pour, also to extract more flavors from your leaves. Right now, okay. Here you go. Thank you very much for watching and participating in my tea classes, and I, with my glass, say Happy Chinese New Year again, and I wish you all the best, good fortune, good health and happiness, and good tea in 2023, the year of the rabbit, and see you next week for another tea class with me, Stéphane Erler. Perfect.